Crystal Globe as we head into the final individual race of the weekend. The 10-kilometre pursuit for the women split into 5 laps of 2 kilometres, 4 shooting stages. Alongside myself, Ellen Ellardy's former British biathlete Scott Dixon. Scott, high temperatures have created some really challenging course conditions over the last few days. The temperature now dropping to 10 degrees as the sun starts to disappear behind the hills here in Nove Mesto. The fans enjoying the weather today, but you do wonder about the conditions out on the course, particularly with the men having already tackled 12.5 kilometres on it this morning.
Yeah, many of the biathletes will be relieved to some extent at the fact that they will be skiing on very similar conditions to everybody else. There's only 2 minutes and 12 seconds separating start number 1 and start number 60, meaning that there isn't going to be any breakdown of the conditions because of the weather, just the beating of the track.
So starting bib number 3 today, Julia Simon, the newly crowned individual world champion. 6 pursuit wins, but none so far this year, just ahead of her compatriot and teammate Justine Brassard-Boucher. Only 1 pursuit win on the World Cup. That was in Lenzerheide when she went on that really impressive couple of days run to claim gold medals in every event. And leading the way today is Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold. Such an impressive win in the sprint yesterday, Scott. She spoke so well, and you could just see the relief, the emotions drain out of her after the race yesterday. My favourite quote actually came a little bit after, where she said that the doubt that she had in her head was drowned out by the noise of the crowd. I think it's just such a brilliant way of putting it. Just sum up how big a win that was for her yesterday.
Well, you heard it in the interview, and if you haven't seen it, I really insist you go and take a look, because it is just such an outpouring of emotions, where she said it's like her first victory. And even in the comments, you could see so much love from an international audience, where fans saying, I'm from France, and yet I'm still delighted for Tandvold. And that's a real theme. She has drawn the love and affection of so many from all over the world, and that's because of her charisma and her fighting attitude, which we saw manifest with the victory yesterday. Yep,
I feel like she's so good at welcoming people into her world along for the ride, and sometimes that is abused by some who, particularly over the course of the World Championships, took to social media to criticise the performances in ways that we obviously can't in any means condone. But it also means that when she has the big successes, the fans are there and really enjoy it and soak up every part of it with her. You have to look at the stats though, Scott. She's never won a pursuit. Behind her, she has Julia Simon, who has 6 to her name, Lou Jean-Monod, who has 5 pursuit wins, 3 of those coming this season. If anything, if she can find a result today, it would be more impressive than the sprint win yesterday.
It certainly would. It's now hers to lose, and with a start advantage of 15 seconds, it really does feel like she can't even afford a miss, because if she does, somebody behind her almost certainly is going to go clear in that beginning of the race. But perhaps that would lessen the pressure.
But that is a very real smile indeed. Introduced as the winner of the sprint, bib number 1, Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold, and as you rightly say, Scott, just 15 seconds behind will be Justine Brassard-Boucher, who herself had an excellent World Championships, the new sprint world champion. Julia Simon as well, just lighting up the second week in Lenzerheide. Some truly entertaining performances, I think that's the best way to put it. Lou Jean-Monod, just 63 points behind Franziska Preuss in the battle for the yellow bib. She wears the red bib today and has a brilliant record this season in the pursuits. Looking a bit further back, bib 11, Jean Richard leading the under-23 competition, and then all the way back in 15th, Scott, is Franziska Preuss, who is now the pursuit world champion.
And it's going to be a big challenge for Preuss, especially given the fact that it appears as though Germany didn't have their best day yesterday, which calls into question whether their skis were running as good as they could.
Someone who had an excellent day and will lead the way in the women's pursuit here in Nove Mesto is Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold. She is away. Justine Brassard-Boucher waits, looking to find just the 2nd pursuit win of her World Cup career. Someone who loves this discipline and finds herself just 21 seconds back is Julia Simon, on fire at the minute and looking excellent in the rain. Someone will be aiming to get back to her focus is Lou Jean-Monod. Scott, she has 5 pursuit wins, 3 coming this season, and some of her records are really brilliant. Just in Antholz, that was the first time this season that she did the sprint pursuit double. She won from 4th in Hochfilz and from 7th in Oberhof. Things are looking in her favour today for Lou Jean-Monod.
And she loves these head-to-head bouts as we see Preuss getting underway. She's certainly, or hopefully, going to be loving this one today. She certainly needs the result. But some athletes favour going head-to-head. They know where their rivals stand next to them, and if the shooting comes together, then that can really tie in to be a great result on the day for the biathletes who favour the head-to-head bouts.
So the top 20 have flooded out of the start gates. Deidre Irwin making start to her race. Just looking outside the top 10, Scott, there's someone you want to highlight in Malincha Kaida, who herself is in good form.
Certainly, I think starting in 12th place, she has a good possibility of climbing up the order. We saw with her ski speed yesterday, she had the 9th fastest, only 29.1 seconds back. She has the potential to climb, and slightly more ambitiously, all the way with bib number 30 with Fem Steinovic. I think she has the possibility of getting even as high as the top 10 today if the targets go down.
Ingrid Landmark-Tandevol, bib number 1, coming towards this first climb. And incredibly steep. The cameras don't quite do it justice, and well, Scott, you can see the amount of snow there that's being displaced when she puts her skis down. Just talk to us a bit about the physicality that this course demands, and also why the warmer temperatures make it more challenging.
Well, it's like running on a beach essentially. Every time your foot goes down onto the sand, the ground around it gives way. And that can create this horrible effect of just feeling like your legs are not delivering the punch they're used to. That psychological impact tied in together with the fact that you really aren't getting all of that kick that you applied through the muscles, through the leg, it adds up to be a very grueling experience indeed.
Julia Simon, Lou Jean-Monod side by side. Justine Bressard-Boucher just inside 15 seconds behind Ingrid Landmark-Tandevol, and then it's Suvi Minkinen who is leading the pack behind, probably around 10 athletes who are following on behind her, including Lisa Toulouse-Hauser, who had her first and best performance of the season in the sprint to finish 5th in the flower ceremony for the first time. Todorova as well, backing up some really good performances so far this season. And Scott, you mentioned it, there's not a huge amount of German representation right at the top. Selina Glossian in 10th, Franziska Preuss in 15th. They'll be hoping for a much better day today.
Yeah, and the likes of Fichtner and Puff, who starts with 58 and 60, they're fantastic shooters. But you can be the best shooter in the world, but it doesn't matter if you haven't got the ski speed at least to match it or counterbalance it. At this present moment, neither of those two named Germans can put together a ski speed to match their amazing shooting, but over the years I expect to see them further up the order. Tandevol actually setting a good pace relative to Preuss. Preuss has only lost 1 second, interestingly, and that's being in amongst the crowd.
Justine Bressard-Boucher now coming through 1.6 kilometres, 14.1 seconds down. So the gap closing, but only by 9/10 of a second from when they started, and still side by side, Julia Simon and Lou Jean-Monod looking to close the gap to their teammate.
And look at this corner in the forest section, the track at this moment not looking too cut up, but looking very quick.
Yeah.
And despite it being 10 degrees, that's a surprise, I have to say, with Todorova there on the right-hand side of your screen.
I was watching Ingrid Landmark-Tandevol. The speed she carried around that corner was very high indeed. And you just wonder whether it's benefited from that corner in particular, of course, with the trees on either side, potentially being in the shade throughout the day. Well, we did have highs of 15 when the men kicked things off earlier this afternoon, but into the range for the first time. The first of prone shoots for Ingrid Landmark-Dandervold. And look at that, Scott, still as you like.
But although it might look still externally, internally, Dandervold has to fight with all of those thoughts that are going to be whirring around in her mind, and trying to silence those is the biggest challenge of biathlon, especially when it's your race to lose. It's a very good start, controlled pace, but 2 targets go down, and that's become 3. Well, that really was controlled. She took her time, and the amount of space she gave that last shot, but it went down.
Taking her time, but it's paid off for Ingrid Landmark-Dandervold. The trio of French women side by side. Bressard-Boucher is away 5 for 5. So is Julia Simon. Lou Jean-Monod is left taking her time. That's 4 down as the group pull in behind her. She's now away, but will have some work to do to catch up with Bressard-Boucher and Simon ahead of her. A miss on the first for Oceane Michelon. Carolina Offigstad-Notten has gone well, 5 for 5 and quick as well. Dorothea Wöhler away. Suvi Minkinen, Lisa Theresa Hauser, Grotien, Hannah Öberg as well, climbing well, and Jean Richard.
And finally, there's 2 misses there from Preuss. That she missed as many as all of the other shooters till this point combined. Preuss now missing a 3rd. There was barely any misses on that first visit to the range, which is totally unique. The wind really settling down.
And this could be so crucial for the race for the Crystal Globe, because 3 misses, 3 times around the penalty loop in her first visit to the range. 63 points separate Franziska Preuss and Lou Jean-Monod. And as things stand, it looks like once again Lou Jean-Monod will go some way into closing the gap in the battle for the overall Crystal Globe.
What an incredible performance there from Dandervold, but not just her, all the way down to Comola of Italy in 13th place, not a single miss, and a testament to the incredible standards now, and perhaps as well the lovely shooting conditions with that still wind.
Well, I'm just watching the results come through as the athletes exit shooting 1. Just 3 misses in the top 20.
That's crazy.
And particularly when you look at Franziska Preuss as well, Scott, 3 misses in the top 20, and Franziska Preuss dropped 3 on her own in the first visit to the range.
Wow, and that's so sad. I think there's a lot of pressure on her to defend, and when that is the dynamic, you are defending something, as Dandervold right now is, as the meters close to Bressard-Boucher, who's very much on the hunt. It's a horrible position to be in. It can be frightening, but I think Dandervold will still be so delighted with yesterday that she won't let that get to her too much.
It is as you were as they started for the top 4. Ingrid Landmark-Dandervold, Justine Bressard-Boucher, Julia Simon. Lou Jean-Monod is 21.4 seconds back. She's closed the gap by 3 seconds after leaving shooting 1, and then further back Suvi Minkinen once again leading these train of athletes behind a pack of 6 moving together, and Dorothea Wöhler now looking to do the majority of the work at the front. Hannah Öberg lurking in there. Well, she has had a challenging couple of weeks. She's 14th in the sprint yesterday. Scott, we know what she can do in pursuits. A podium finish from this point is well within her reach.
It is, just as it is for Kirkeide, who's there just on our screens on the left-hand side. But for Hannah Öberg, she's capable, as we saw yesterday. She was in the lead at the end of shoot 1, and she lost that lead. So fascinating that perhaps the psychological components affected her. But I think we can see some magic from her today, especially inspired after Samuelsson's incredible victory in the men's pursuit.
All eyes on Ingrid Landmark-Dandervold, who once again through this quick section of corners through the trees will hug the far right-hand side of the course.
And this section of track is so fast, and it's actually slowed down somewhat by these conditions, which is a relief, because these corners can be a little bit sketchy at the best of times.
Well, we saw a shot at the end of the men's sprint of one of the athletes just becoming a bit unstuck around one of the bends, and I do believe it was this section here, one of the Belgian athletes taking a tumble, but since then it seems to have stood well, and you can see the top four coming through 3.6 kilometres, 18 seconds now separating Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold and Lou Jean-Minot down in fourth.
And that shot there of the three French ladies at the same time was really wonderful. All three of them in that order have the best skate 2, the doppel dance technique, which you can see pulling on both sides. All three of them, the very best at that technique in the world, in this shot, doing that exact technique at the same time. Very cool.
Look to the side from Jean-Richard as Malin Czhechia comes around the outside. These two looking to get onto the back of this group of 6.
And Hannah Öberg, she's leading the pack and managed to close down 2.6 seconds from the shooting range, so is skiing fast. And we know that because Tandvold was skiing the second fastest time yesterday behind Lampic of Slovenia.
Coming in for shooting 2, Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold took her time in the first of the 2 prone shoots, but won't be able to afford to waste too much time getting underway here in the second.
She gets her left elbow settled on the mat. There's no slipping. She settles next to the 3 French ladies, applying the pressure. And the first 2 targets go down. It looks easy so far for Tandvold of Norway as Breja Boucher misses her 3rd shot. It's clear for Tandvold. Wonderful. Just as Breja Boucher misses a second, Jean-Minot, the only of the trio from France who has not yet missed.
And she's taking her time. She's very focused, but she's 5 for 5 and away. But the gap will have opened up for Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold, who is the only athlete out of shooting 2. She'll shortly be joined by Lou Jean-Minot, and there is 13 seconds between them.
And Hauser now going clear alongside Gautian and Vera and Knotten of Norway. So now those 4 chasers who were in a pack of 5 are going to be hot on the heels of Julia Simon and Breja Boucher of France, and that pack of 3 exiting becoming 5 is going to be a fast-led group.
Julia Simon straight to the front of this pack after coming out of the penalty loop. She'll want to push the pace on to reconnect with Lou Jean-Minot up ahead. But once again, Scott, and this was slightly quicker shooting from Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold, but she held her nerve so well.
She did. The pressure so high, and we keep bringing attention to the stillness of the range. But sometimes when it's still and when it's quiet, that's when the most noise is occurring in the mind of these biathletes, especially for those who, even if they shouldn't feel this way, even if they feel like they have something to prove, it makes shooting incredibly challenging.
So here's a question for you with your coaching hat on. Oleana Bjorndalen said that what Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold needs to do is take a step away, try not to think about shooting, whether that be remove yourself from the range, have that, I like to call it mindlessness, but where it's just like an empty head when you come into the range. Is it counterintuitive if I ask how you teach that? Because then are you kind of overthinking it in the first place?
No, it's necessary to overthink. As we see the hunting pack now closing down as we exit or come out onto the track. Tandvold there coming up the steepest part of this climb. But yes, it is absolutely necessary to accept that the negative thoughts are going to occur. It's not a question of whether they occur in the mind of the biathlete. It's a question of how you deal with those negative thoughts and having proactive methods of overcoming the stress of thinking about if I hit this target then, or should I do this, I could win. All of those poisonous thoughts can be beaten by proactive thoughts.
Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold will need proactive thoughts now, because Lou Jean-Monod has cut the gap to 7.8 seconds. It was 13 seconds when they left shooting one, now at 4.8 kilometres, just 7.8 seconds. Julia Simon in the chase pack, which includes Lisa Teresa Hauser, Dorothea Vela, Selina Glottier and Carolina Offistad-Notten, just behind and all within 32 seconds of Tandvold.
And I do feel sorry a little bit for Tandvold now. Despite seeing the 10 out of 10 yesterday, she's coming into the stand shooting with a 72% hit rate this season. Standing is not her strength, and it'll be interesting to see how she combats it against the like of Jean-Monod, who has an 87% hit rate in stand.
And is clean, 10 for 10 in the prone position. And then looking further back, Scott, we mentioned it earlier, but still after 2 shooting stages now, it is excellent to see how many athletes are clean. Just 3 in the top 10 having missed shots in the first 2 shooting stages. Everyone else with perfect records.
And with Kirkeide only climbing from 12th to 9th over the course of this lap is testament to how fast all the other competitors are skiing so far on the beginning of this race, and equally shooting. But the conditions so far have been great.
Yeah, we'll need to keep an eye on that corner though, because we just saw Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold lose her footing slightly. Obviously still managed to take the corner well, but particularly as these athletes begin to tire, this corner could throw up some challenges.
Yeah, Knotten there just going wide on the outside of Grossian of Germany. A wise move. If somebody slips there, it could wipe out the entire chasing pack. So owning your own space is a sensible strategy. But following the pace of Julia Simon perhaps is not a sensible strategy. She is so quick on the skis, and the likes of Knotten finishing the 23rd fastest ski time in her sprint race just a couple days ago, just yesterday. Breza Boucher there, skate 2 all the way up this hill. That is no easy feat, particularly in these conditions.
So the chase pack coming through the stadium, while the gap has been completely closed between Ingrid Landmark-Tandvold and the chaser Lou Jean-Monod. Nothing between them now as they come into this first standing shoot.
And now, inevitably, they will be thinking about what might become of their position if they hit all 5. A thought which they need to combat by thinking about the process, the breathing, and the rhythm between every single shot. Tandvold is the first to fire and is a hit, but followed up with a miss.
2 misses now for Tandvold. 3, and well, that could be catastrophic. Lou Jean-Monod is away, and away clean. A perfect record so far.
Oh, she loves these pursuit competitions and will thrive from the fact that her closest competitor there just added 450 meters to their overall loop.
Julia Simon, so quick and so good. Dorothea Vela, well, advantage to the Italian, who hasn't finished on the podium this season. Could today be her day? Malin Kirkeide going well. Hannah Erberg 4 for 4, now 5, as is Oceane Michelon.
Wow.
Breza Boucher clean as well.
The quality of performance here is just amazing, with Erberg, Kirkeide, Michelon all going clear. And Minkinen, who skied fantastically well in the sprint, also getting 5 for 5 in her first stand shoot of the race.
Richard 5 for 5. Samuela Komola with 1 miss, and once around the penalty loop. Sophie Chauveau back on the World Cup circuit and coming in for her first stand. And still in the penalty loop, Scott, Ingrid Landmark-Tandevold. That is, it's such a challenging watch, that final shoot that she's just come through, missing 3. We've seen already with Franziska Preuss just how costly that will be. And she comes out of the penalty loop in 12th. She's now 1 minute 13 off the pace of Lou Jean Monod, who she came in side by side with.
Yeah, the brutal pressure of the moment combined with, well, as we saw, the conditions certainly aren't a factor for the shooting there, except for what happens inside the mind of the biathletes. There's no cold weather making the fingers numb, and the crowd are the same, or at least carrying the same energy as they did in the sprint, but also not a good day for Preuss.
No, still those 3 misses on her first visit to the range, the only 3 misses she's had. So since then she has gone perfect, but you can see the damage it's done. She's down in 18th, and with Lou Jean Monod taking the lead here, it'd be interesting to see the points, the intermediate points for the overall Crystal Globe. Pursued though by Julia Simon, who is trying to cut the gap. 17.8 seconds when they left shooting 3. It's now up to 20.2. She's got Dorothea Wöhler alongside her.
And now anyone inside the top 10 is very capable of winning this race. There's only 1 shoot to go, but within a minute, you could see just there with Tandevold and her 3 misses, it's very possible for the likes of Jean Monod to have a meltdown, although with her performances so far, it's hard to imagine.
This is how things stand. She will become the first female athlete to claim 7 wins in a season. She's level with Justine Bressard-Boucher on 6 for most wins of a French woman in an IBU World Cup season, and is heading towards her 7th.
And her technique is just so fantastic. We'll get a really good shot at the bottom of this hill as she does the skate 2 technique. That's when she pulls on both sides, and she is very efficient, bringing the ski directly underneath her body, transferring the weight as her nose is directly above the ski, and driving the elbows back, so utilizing the back muscles rather than relying on the triceps, which are a far smaller muscle group in the arms.
Dorothea Wöhler now trying to go around the outside, but Julia Simon holding firm. And Hannah Öberg as well, not out of this by any means yet.
And Czechia of Norway there, just as Hannah almost takes a tumble through those deepening conditions. And Jean Monod's really wonderful skate 2 here, elbows driving back, and standing up really tall on the ski, allowing her to do the skate 2 technique over this incline when most actually break into the skate 1 technique, the hill climbing technique, as you can see there from Julia Simon following.
And Oceane Michelon closing the gap. Just 1 miss on the day so far, and owing to the chaos around her in the 3rd visit to the range, she's managed to leap up into 6th.
Good angle there, showing how steep that climb is and how easy these biathletes make it look. And combining the steepness and look at the lines cut through the snow coming into the range, these conditions are brutally slow.
So 4 in pursuit of Lou Jean Monod, and then off the back of this quartet, Oceane Michelon, Malin Czechia.
Amazingly, everyone within the lens shot right now is capable of claiming a victory if they get the targets and if Lou Jean Monod has a downfall on this final visit.
Pressure is on the Frenchwoman. 15 out of 15 so far. Starts with a miss though.
Well,
She needs to be perfect from here on in, and quick as well. And 2 misses, and that changes the entire landscape of this race.
What a fantastic opportunity now for so many names as we add what is essentially 50 seconds onto Liu Jiamenou's time. Hannah Öberg, the first to seize the opportunity with 4 hits for 4, but missing the last. Simon, she gets 5 for 5 and now looks to be good to claim the best time coming out of the range.
So as everyone else veers left and into the penalty loop, Julia Simon is away. Liu Jiamenou is still going around the loop. Malin Czhechia will join them. It will be some time before we see someone join Julia Simon in leaving shooting 4. This surely will be a big win for the Frenchwoman.
And now Grotian of Germany has an opportunity. She gets 5 out of 5, and now with so many still on the penalty loop, it's an opportunity for Germany to get into the top 5.
She'll be just behind Oceane Michelon. Has plenty veering out of the penalty loop at the same time. Liu Jiamenou isn't out of the battle for a medal yet, but she's contending with Hannah Öberg, who's ahead of her, Dorothea Viela, Oceane Michelon, and now Selina Grotian behind her. Another miss, another 2 for Tandavold, and well, it's so disappointing to see, but it is, Scott, as we've mentioned about, so challenging once you get those thoughts in your head.
It certainly is, and it's about how you address those thoughts and teaching yourself or being coached the thoughts that enable you to overcome them. Sverre Reusland, the German shooting coach, he is one of the most brilliant coaches, and Marta Osby Reusland's husband, the legendary Osby Reusland.
Julia Simon with a 24.5 second advantage, leaving shooting 4. No wins on the World Cup this season, taking of course the gold medal in the individual for the World Championships in Lenzerheide. You felt it was certainly a long time coming for Julia Simon, and she is in the pole position to back it up with a gold medal here in Nove Mesto. The battle, though, behind for the medals is certainly where the drama is. As driving up 8.8 kilometres is Julia Simon. She's being chased by Hannah Öberg.
And would you believe it, Hannah Öberg cumulatively on all the laps before now has gained over 30 seconds on ski speed over Julia Simon. And with only, it's a big gap, 25.8 seconds, surely insurmountable, but nonetheless, we've seen how tricky the conditions are underfoot, and Julia Simon cannot afford to get complacent in case she falls or has a tumble.
If anything, though, Julia Simon is opening the gap. She's opened it, it's only fractions since they left shooting 1, but it is certainly advantage Simon by quite some margin here. What Hannah Öberg needs to do now is ski herself out of danger from behind, because the battle for the medals behind is just incredible. Look how crammed it is. But Julia Simon leading the way.
And it's going to be really hard now for Liu Jiamenou, having done those 2 penalties at the worst time. She had to go around the loop, which gives you a bit of a dead leg as well, the inside leg, as you try and get through the slush. So the impact of the penalty loop, not just emotional, very much physical too.
Hannah Öberg still chasing. Starting in 14th, this is a huge climb for her. Hasn't finished on an individual podium so far this season. Been there in the relay with Sweden, but this surely set to be her first podium of the 24-25 IBU World Cup season. And will it be a first podium on the World Cup for Oceane Michelon?
Well, it's going to have to be tactics all the way to the line now, as the 4 biathletes, 2 from France, 1 Italian, the other German, have to figure out where to stand in relation to one another, with Dorothea Viera just dropping off the back.
Yeah, at times it hasn't looked like Dorothea Viera has either had the fastest ski speed or the fastest skis by any means, and has dropped off the battle here, but continuing to fight. And wow, they are reeling in Hannah Öberg. You can see behind, she at this point she has done enough, surely. Julia Simon lit up the World Championships and carries her great form into trimester 3. Her first victory on the World Cup this season, and in her beloved pursuit. And the battle for the bronze medal being won by Oceane Michelon, who has broken Lou Jean Monod. A first medal on the World Cup this season for Hannah Öberg, and a first ever World Cup podium for Oceane Michelon, who backs up her own good work from the World Championships.
And Dorothea Viera just coming across the line, broken by the pace on that last leg there, and 29 seconds back, only having had 1 penalty.
Chikada across the line in 8th, Jean Richard in 9th, and Suvi Minkkinen another top 10 finish for the Finn. But, well, what a battle that was, and a podium that will be full of firsts.
Really tough. Hannah Öberg's early time taking a beating, as Preuss, she really will have felt that today now in terms of the points, but also in terms of her prospects for the overall bibs, which she still defends.
Lisa Talisa Hauser across the line in 11th. Another very solid performance from the Austrian. 3 misses. As Carolina Offestad-Notten across the line ahead of Franziska Preuss. Three misses in her first visit to the range, being still Scott, her only 3 misses, but really testament to the damage you can do in that first shoot.
Well, and also testament to how brilliantly she managed to come back. It's 3 times around the loop, 450 meters. It's too much, and especially when defending the title, which she is, as Tandrevold now crossing the line, experiencing her very unfortunate 5 penalties in total. All of which coming from the stand shooting, which is somewhat predictable for Tandrevold. She still doesn't appear to have the psychological tools to handle the stand shooting yet.
And particularly with the points in which she came into that first standing shoot, with Lou Jean Monod there next to her. As much as, of course, with the record she holds as a standing shooter this season being less than a huge amount less than what she'd expect from herself, that adds a different psychological battle when you're lining up next to someone, particularly in the pursuit, of the pedigree that Lou Jean Monod has shown this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And also Femsinovic, she climbed well with 3 penalties, 30 to 16, but the top 15 was pretty much just a shuffle. Everybody somewhat staying in that area after earning their seconds in the sprint.
Jessica Slova enjoying the crowd, and certainly sending her thanks back to them. So much of what you'll read and what you'll hear from the athletes after their trips to Nove Mesto is all about just how good the crowd is and the atmosphere here.
Another day with 3 French flags in the top 4, but a German getting closer in 5th place with Gauchian.
Yeah, and with just 1 miss on the day, Selina Gauchian can take a huge amount of pride from that performance in the flower ceremony once again, as is Dorothea Viera, climbing 3 places from 9th to 6th. Nadia Mosa with just one miss, 19 out of 20 on the day for the Canadian, finishing 46th.
Hannah Puff not managing to maintain that incredible shooting that she carried through the World Championships and the European Championships. With 3 mistakes on the day.
Anastasia Kuzmina across the line in 50th, 5 misses for her. Two DNSs today, 10 misses for Anna-Maria Lampic, still trying to really find the right balance between the ski speed and then of course the shooting as well. And Scott, we've spoken about it plenty of times, this sport it has to be a balance, and you have to at some point find the balance there.
For sure, and in conditions like we saw today, there was no wind or very little wind. But I wonder in the zeroing whether it was the same. For some biathletes with less experience, it's actually harder to adjust the sights to changing wind conditions if it becomes less than the zero than if there's more. If there's more wind, just move into the wind. But if there's less, you have to do some mental maths. Okay, I need to move away from the wind or with the wind direction as it came in. And already you're adding more words to the process, which when you're tired is very tricky. And I just wonder with Lampic there with 5 penalties in her second prone, if she just failed to respond properly to the wind conditions.
Shravatova of Czechia as well with 8 as our final athletes make their way towards the line. Just waiting on one more after Lydia Zahalskaite.
And a really good day from Dorothea Viera. I certainly wasn't predicting flower ceremony for the Italian, but I am absolutely delighted to be wrong in this case. It's great to see her back up towards the sharp end where she belongs and has been so often.
2 4th-place finishes this season, and now, of course, a 6th today. Dorothea Viera coming so close to a podium once again. It was, though, an exceptional battle, and very much like the men's pursuit earlier today, Scott, both of these races have delivered in drama, and particularly when it comes to in the range, the battles, more so for the medals behind the leaders, have been truly remarkable. Kalihalam of Estonia, our final athlete across the line, with 2 DNSs and 2 DNFs, Maya Klottens being one of them, and Stranos of Moldova as well. And a look at the results. Julia Simon, her first World Cup win of the season, backing up some incredibly impressive performances at the World Championships. Hannah Öberg, her first World Cup podium of the season, climbing 12 places, and a first World Cup podium in her career for Oceane Michelon, after of course taking a brilliant silver medal in the mass start at the World Championships. Luz Romano started 4th, finished 4th, while Selina Grotian climbed up to 5th, and rounding out the flower ceremony is Dorothea Viera in 6th.
A great day for Sweden with Sebastian Samuelsson's gold in the men's pursuit, and Hannah Öberg, the two of them having such a fantastic Olympics in Pyeongchang on the same day, doing something incredibly special and bringing back medals for Sweden. And it seems like all these years later, managing to bring it together on the same day again here in Nove Mesto. And so great to see Michelon of France there fighting and beating Jean Monod. Of Of course, I don't want to see Jean Monod deposed of a podium, but the youngster showing her fighting spirit as a prospect very much for the future to look out for.
Well, you always felt like it was going to happen, a case of when, not if, for Oceane Michelon to claim her first podium. She did that at the World Championships. She's then backed it up with a first podium on the World Cup here in Nove Mesto, and just a very understated performance, you have to say, Scott. She put herself in the right places, in the right positions, in the right time. Let's have a quick look at the total points. And it is Franziska Preuss who now leads by just 36 points from Lou Jean Monod. And you can see Elvira Urberg dropping down the order there. She's absent from the race weekend here in Nove Mesto due to illness.
At this time of year, the sicknesses really catching up with tired bodies and repeatedly going through airports and travelling circumstances, where these biathletes are over and over again exposed to the risk of bugs and colds.
Very much like the men, a very interesting battle. Scott, it's almost too close to call once again. Will Franziska Preuss be able to cling on?
It's going to be so tough now because she's taken a hit psychologically, and Lou Jean Monod appears to be in better form. But that said, Preuss was able to fall back from early mistakes in the shooting range to get the perfect 15 for 15 in the last 3 times of asking. So I do think that Preuss still has a lot of strength on her side on the shooting range and fast on the skis, but it's going to be very hard to predict.
Of course, the new Pursuit World Champion, you mentioned it yesterday before the sprint, that once you claim that first world title, it was something that she'd been waiting on for so long. 7 world championships without a gold. She finally got her world title that she's oh so wanted. Then coming back from that, the physical demands, the wanting to peak for the world championships, of course the emotional demands as well. It is a challenge that maybe she hasn't been able to handle in the same way the likes of Oceane Michelon and Julia Simon.
Yeah, perhaps, and it's a different dynamic all the time when you have that success finally at the top, and then all of a sudden everyone's talking about, oh, can she defend this or that? It's like, wow, I've just absorbed the moment of being at the very top of the world, receiving a long fought after medal, and now she's faced with the pressure, particularly from a very hungry German audience who are excited and hopeful to see their athletes at the top of the world.
On top of the world today, though, Julia Simon. Third in the sprint, taking the victory in the pursuit. Her 7th pursuit victory of her career on the World Cup. This truly is her discipline, Scott. We haven't really seen it as much as we would have expected this season. It's been Lou Jean Monod, the other French woman, who's taken all the plaudits, and we can hear from our winner now.
Julia, congratulations. That was a crazy fight today. How was it for you out there?
Yeah, it was a crazy battle, very tough, but I'm really happy to win here. It's a special place for me in Nove Mesto, and I love it. So it was amazing. Like always, amazing crowd. People are really loud here. It's a lot of pleasure.
And how special was it to finish across the finish line in first in front of this crowd?
Yeah, it's always something special, and I think it's one of the best places. So yeah, it's hard to tell. You have to live it. So yeah, it was. I'm really proud of my race. It was really tough, and I did a great job today.
Enjoy the moment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, you find that sometimes, Scott, biathletes have a certain affinity with some places, and you can't deny that Julia Simon has an affinity here in Nove Mesto. The world champion in the pursuit here last season and the sprint as well, and then victory today. You can see how things change in the pursuit score. Julia Simon now up into second, but Lou Jean Monod still holds on to the red bib in this discipline. But it's interesting, isn't it? Some athletes just love to race on some courses.
Yeah, it suits their physiology and also their psychology, the two not being equally weighted. I would say the physical component is the most important. If it's a really technical course with brutal climbs, then those who have the best capacity really thrive, and it just stretches out the field relative to those who are less good on the hilly conditions and slower conditions.